Right, now that we have our next character, we're pulling back to the very cave we came from. I doubt we're going to get any time to prepare if we push forward, and who knows, we might find something special in one of the boxes I missed on the way here. Or maybe find something that Edge can equip back at town. Besides, there's no harm in potentially leveling up Edge before the next big fight. Probably also a good idea to get Kane something that isn't gonna kill him every time he hits one of these skeletons. Well, we certainly aren't going to have any money problems this far into the game. Partly because a lot of the stores we've been going to haven't had all that much worth buying. Partly because we've gained a pretty large stockpile this far in. And just, ugh. Seriously, money has not meant all that much in this specific game. I'm pretty sure it meant more back in the original for a longer chunk of time. Not that the Final Fantasy economies are all that strong in the first place, I'm just wondering why we've been given so much income and so little feels like it's actually worth buying around here. Maybe that might be why both Final Fantasy 3 and 5 allowed you to change classes pretty much any time you wanted. It makes it more tempting to buy more equipment or spells to cover all of your bases. But in this game, you are given characters when the plot says you gain said characters. You lose those characters when the game says you lose those characters. We never have any moments to choose who is on our team when, and the only one who never leaves after joining us is Cecile. I suppose that's because he's meant to be the absolute main character. And as main characters in a video game story this old ago, he's certainly got more going for him than most, but I really wish it felt like we got to learn more about him as a person, saw him interacting with his comrades more. As it is, there's not really all that much you can say that makes him stand out as a Final Fantasy character in general, other than he was the first who wasn't just a blank slate that you could play as. He has a default name, he has the personal motivation to break away from Baron at the start, though I'm kinda iffy about his motivations after a while. It just feels like he needs a bit more there. And the story clearly wants to treat him as a chosen one of some kind. Especially if the main villain seems to have something personal against Cecile, even if that hasn't been described just yet. And the sword we gained at the top of that mountain when we did the whole class change, yeah, that's another bit of evidence that he is something special in this world. All that said, I'm sorry to say he's not the best character in this game. I wouldn't even put him in the top 3. The absolute best character is Rydia, and I'm pretty sure I've made that opinion pretty clear. Her intro was one of the most memorable parts of the game as a whole. And even before she could do any summoning, if you take the time to level her up, she becomes quite the menace. I would not be surprised if she is, bar none, the absolute strongest mage we ever work with in the entire game. Bit of a shame that I prefer to use physical attacks instead of magic ones, but that's my fault, not hers. In second place goes Cid. Even when he wasn't fighting alongside us, he had the major role of constructing and modifying airships. You certainly can't say too many others in the party in this game have any utility outside of direct combat, aside from maybe those who do healing magic at any rate. It also felt like he had far more personality than anyone else, to the point that he actually forced those he was talking to have some back and forth with him. Nothing amazing, nothing especially memorable, but more than anyone else. So yeah, giving him points for that. I probably didn't use him as well as I could have while he was on the team, but he was still appreciated. The third best character was of course Tellah. While the death of Anna drove both Tellah and Edward forward to some degree, Tellah really charged forward and never let you forget he was in this for revenge. He also made it pretty clear he wasn't planning on what he'd do if he managed to kill Golbez. Not that he knew he wasn't gonna make it when he was shooting off every spell he could, just that I got the sense if he managed to kill Golbez, then he'd just lay down and let old age take him, not really giving a shit about the rest of the world. Edward is an honorable mention, not quite a member of the top 3, but still someone I'm looking at pretty fondly in this story. He had that moment with Anna's ghost, and he also was critical in letting us take down the Dark Elf in the Magnetic Cave. He most certainly did his duty and left his mark. But notice how I didn't put Kane, Cecile, or Rosa in the top 3 at all. Bit awkward that I don't give a shit about any of them, when they were the first characters we met when Cecile was still working for Baron. Just how long does it take for that stone gaze to actually turn one of our fighters into stone? I'm trying to remember if that's ever happened to us over the course of the game. If so, it certainly doesn't stand out in my memory. Pretty sure we've grabbed all the boxes that were annoying to reach corners by now. Still, no harm in making sure. Doesn't seem to be anything in that corner, but then it's not like I was especially thorough. I didn't see any boxes up there, and there weren't any especially obvious paths. Looks like a complete dead end. Certainly a lot more undead down here than I was expecting, especially since undead in this series are generally weak to fire. And the bastard we need to take down is the elemental fiend of fire. I would have expected his servants to be weak to ice just to be similar to him. Or would that have made things far too simple this far into the game? It's a little tough for me to tell this far in. We've certainly had to go through quite a bit of bullshit in order to make it this far, that's for sure. Speaking of bullshit, I can't help wondering if it's a good or bad thing that Kane has been missing so much. On one hand, why the hell am I swinging that Blood Lance around so much against these skeletons when we've already seen that the Blood Lance is a suicidal option against them? On the other hand, that's far too little accuracy from that thing. It's almost like Kane ended up getting blinded by one of these enemies, but I'm not seeing any of the visual indicators that he's got that specific status effect. All in all, it's a bit baffling, but probably not all that important right now. So, going straight from a fight where the enemy was attacking us from behind to a fight where we're attacking the enemy from behind. Again, feels pretty damn random when that sort of thing happens around here and there's no way to plan ahead for it. You won't know if a random encounter is going to be normal or if it's going to be one of those one side's is going to have an advantage thing until you're dropped into it. And as if that wasn't annoying enough, when you're attacked from behind, the sprites for your characters all end up on the other end of the screen. Not that that's really any more jarring than a random encounter triggering in the first place, it just felt like something worth groaning about right now. Speaking of groaning, apparently the armor store from Edge's Kingdom doesn't sell anything he can actually wear. Not even the stuff that he's already got equipped, which kinda makes me curious how the hell he managed to get his gear in the first place. Okay, so the only thing we can get for him in the weapon shop is something he already had 2 of when we first met him. At least that's marginally better than him just getting equipment that his kingdom doesn't sell, but still, I suppose I could have gotten him a boomerang so he could use it from the back row or something, but boomerangs clearly do less damage than kunais for some reason. And considering how the Naruto series treated kunai as a ranged weapon, it's a bit strange that this game treats them as a purely melee tool. Though I'm fairly certain that most Westerners who played this game when it was originally released wouldn't have even known that kunai are a kind of knife. As far as the general audience of 1991 knew, it was just a fancy name for something kinda shaped like a sword that only Edge can use. And of course, back then, the game was released outside of Japan with the odd renumbering of Final Fantasy II. They apparently decided not to bother releasing the actual Final Fantasy II or III in the West until the series was a hell of a lot more popular. I can kind of understand with 2, since even the Pixel Remaster version of that feels pretty damn annoying to me in terms of mechanics. And they might have been able to get away with releasing the 3rd game over here though, so I don't know. And the whole renumbering thing got confusing for people since the 3rd game released outside of Japan was actually Final Fantasy VI. They just entirely skipped over 5 for no apparent reason. Hell, even after just one playthrough of 5, I started considering it one of my absolute favorite entries in the entire franchise. So yeah, bit of a baffling decision. And I'm sure things got even more confusing for the Western audience at the time when Final Fantasy VII came out, with plenty of people in the US probably wondering why they jumped over 4, 5, and 6, just going straight from 3 to 7. Or at least that was the case with the people who joined in on the series earlier. For quite a number of people, 7 was their first game. And I could certainly say it made me curious about earlier entries in the series, and funnily enough, I had to wait for the PSP releases to experience Final Fantasies 1 and 4, and the Pixel Remaster was the only way I could experience 5. Or 3, really. It's a damn good thing you don't have to experience this series in any kind of order to still have fun with it, because goddamn, for quite a few years, a solid chunk of the series was pretty damn obscure to get to. Oddly disappointed that Skeleton didn't go down when the damage numbers were 666. Ah well, Rydia was able to push him the rest of the way to hell. I somehow doubt that the money and experience points we're getting are gonna make the next major boss fight noticeably easier than it would have been if we just pushed directly forward from where we met Edge like the game probably intended us to. Ah well, it's not like we're in any real hurry out here. There's no danger of Golbez ending the world because we're taking too long getting to the next major conflict point. We can just casually keep on pushing forward, moving at our own pace, and seeming like a friggin' turtle. Well, at least this ambush didn't switch around where our formation is. That makes it manageable enough for me to be willing to fight our way through this. But then I suppose with how weak bats generally are in this game, even when we get an especially bad opening to the fight, we probably could take the bastards down. I'm just possibly a bit overly cautious. it really matters if it petrified that bat or not, since he was dead after that much damage anyway. Have I mentioned that the player causing status effects just doesn't feel all that worthwhile in this series? Because it feels like that sort of thing bears repeating. Pretty sure we're gonna end this clip at the same save point we started from, and that we aren't actually gonna make any progress in this clip, just essentially grind things out. Not that that was my original intention when I started recording, I just wanted to get to the item boxes I had gotten to in the previous clip. Then see if there were any extra equipment we could buy for Edge before charging to the next bit of combat. The first objective was easy enough to accomplish, even if it took a decent amount of time. The second was kind of a waste of time, though. The only guy who got any fresh equipment was Kane, and that was, in terms of stats, a bit of a downgrade. But at least the Ice Spear isn't gonna... Seriously. It really makes me feel like the weapon and armor stores are a complete afterthought in this game. Considering how far into the game we've gotten, I somehow doubt there are too many towns or cities we haven't gone to yet in order to check for fresh equipment. You would think that the blood-sucking that the bats are doing would do something to heal themselves, but I haven't seen any green numbers over them, but then I haven't seen any white numbers over us as our health is draining, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, still nothing in that corner, and I'm clearly not using an out-of-game map to figure out where to go at the moment. Just how many armadillos and their pellet swaps have we killed in this cave alone? I certainly haven't been keeping track. Still got a good supply of regular potions, but I suppose regular potions have lost a lot of utility this far into the game. Our health has grown to the point that regular potions are just there to get us a more precise healing than a high potion. I just checked online what the curse status even does. It halves our attack, defense, and magic power. Reading the description, it sounds like something especially troublesome. But in practice, it just doesn't do enough. Especially since it's inflicted by random encounters that we're supposed to be able to deal with relatively easily. Anyway, that should about do it for this clip. Next time we're making some actual progress.